I think we all like a good underdog story. And matter of fact, we draft some of these guys in fantasy football every year. There are players who are exceeding expectations, trying to surmount the odds. They were not supposed to even make it this far. And now we're looking to see if they can provide some value for our fantasy football teams. We're drafting them in the final rounds. They're sitting on waivers. We're looking at them every day. We're wondering what's going to happen soon with this player. Are they going to make it or are they going to flop? One wide receiver we've been watching for a long time is Justyn Ross, wide receiver of the Kansas City Chiefs. He was a prolific wide receiver at Clemson, was balling out as a freshman, and then into his sophomore season. We lost his junior year due to injury. He came back the following year, but it wasn't the same. And then he went to the Chiefs because he fell out of the draft, missed that season during his rookie year, and now we're waiting for him to come back, for him to really make an impact on this team. Things have been looking good in training camp. But before we look at the stats and information, you have to click that subscribe button right now. Stop missing out on info of these players. These guys are going to be picking up off the waiver wire, drafting in the final rounds of your fantasy draft or even in the middle of your draft. These are very important news and nuggets that's really going to help you build your fantasy team, and we're going to be here with you all year long helping you win those championships. But let's dig in. Let's look at Justyn Ross. First things first, and I went over this tweet during the Sky Moore video the other day, but Justyn Ross is considered a package player with Rashee Rice. They're going to be in and out of the lineup. They're going to be in and out off the field, getting opportunity. And you may think that that's not good. That doesn't sound great because fantasy, you want your players out there. The thing about this is Justyn Ross isn't supposed to make it this far. Justyn Ross had a huge injury that was spinal, that kept him out his junior year in college. The fact that he came back that final year was crazy. It wasn't supposed to happen. Then he fell out of the draft. When you fall out of the draft, you're an undrafted free agent. The odds are really stacked against you. And then he had an injury, missed the whole year. So the odds are really stacked against him. Like him making it this far in training camp without getting cut is huge. It's very huge. It's an indictment to how much dog he has in him and how talented he is as a player. Even if he's not giving you what we saw as a freshman or sophomore at Clemson, you're still getting a good wide receiver here to look at. He's got some talent here that allows him to latch on to this depth chart. And the thing about this, we've been seeing him make plays in training camp. We've covered the clips left and right this offseason on Justyn Ross. We've been watching him these last couple years, actually. And now, in the preseason games, highlight after highlight, rubber's going to meet the road here. The fact that we made it this far, the fact that he's a package player, this isn't supposed to happen. We're defeating the odds here. So if we're continuously defeating the odds are saying that maybe we continue to defeat the odds. I guess that's what we could say about that. So there's a chance he makes even a bigger impact later down the line. After all, he was considered one of the best wide receivers in college football early in his career. At age 18, he had a 24% market share of Clemson's passing production. And it's not like he was competing against jabroni wide receivers on that team. Clemson was considered wide receiver U at one point. They were pumping out wide receivers. Played with T. Higgins. The following year, T. Higgins went off, but he still had a 20% market share. At age 19, still young, broke out twice technically because over a 20% market share on both years. 1,000 yards as a freshman. The junior season, he had to skip out, had that spinal injury, and we did not know if he was ever going to come back or not. So he missed his 2020 season. Then he comes back in 2021. And this offense was putrid. Everything's gone. Trevor Lawrence is gone. This offense is not looking good. He was supposed to come out with Trevor Lawrence, be a first-round draft pick. Everything was supposed to be immaculate. Matter of fact, you're probably going to be drafting him in this draft right now, middle or one of the top rounds of this draft. Because if everything played out accordingly what we were seeing from his college career, That's what things were looking like. But he fell in the draft. He missed that year in 2020, came back in 2021. He still had a good year, over 20% market share of their passing production, but the offense wasn't clicking. Then we get to draft, falls out of draft, undrafted free agent. The Chiefs pick him up. Then he gets hurt. He gets hurt, misses the year, comes back this offseason, and we're wondering what's going to happen. We get some news, things are looking good. We get that one highlight right before minicamp, him catching a ball from Patrick Mahomes. That looked tremendous. Then we get in the minicamp, we get a couple balls caught, we go over those highlights. Then we get to training camp, and he just goes nuclear. Every day, there's a highlight going off. He's burning a dude, he's mossing a dude, he's running some routes, catching some balls, doing things that a lot of other wide receivers in other camps aren't doing because those highlights weren't coming out like they were coming out for Justyn Ross. And then we get to the preseason games, and he mosses dudes, burns some dudes, keeps making plays. Justyn Ross is defeating the odds here. Why can't he do it during the season? And looking at him in college, just a productive asset here. Look at him early. Yards per team pass attempt compared to average wide receiver prospects who has been productive, at least at a wide receiver 2 level in their NFL career. That freshman year, immaculate. And that's hard to do at Clemson. If you can do that at Clemson during that time span, it means you're pretty damn good. And then he backed it up in 2019 while T. Higgins was going off. And you know T. Higgins is a good wide receiver because you guys are drafting him up like crazy in the early rounds. And then we look at this depth chart here for the Chiefs. It's very ambiguous because we got a lot of good young wide receivers with a lot of upside that can do some things and play in different positions with different roles and really hold value for this team. The thing about Justyn Ross, if we get what we saw during his first couple years of college and he's reverting back to that, he's easily the best wide receiver on this depth chart. If he's just a portion of that, he's competing, and we're already seeing that. He's already considered a package player in his role in the offense, and that's because he had to climb from the bottom and get to where he was at. Now he's still climbing. So if he gets his opportunity and really runs with it like he's been doing it all offseason long, we might have something here. And this offense is very explosive. Travis Kelce's the key cog in the passing game. However, if something happens to him, they're still going to be throwing the football. They're still going to be slinging it. Justyn Ross is a guy that could step up. Juju Smith-Schuster's gone. Mecole Hardman's gone. This could be an interesting situation as we're watching these young wide receivers jockey for position. He's a late-round dart throwing fantasy right now. 16th round underdog basketball where the Sharps are drafting. So that means in basic home leagues, he's falling out of drafts a lot of the time. He's sitting there on waivers, but he's a pure upside play. Compared to the rest of these guys on the list here, upside plays, backup running backs, upside wide receivers, tight ends, quarterbacks. The thing about him is there's a chance he could go nuclear. There's a very good chance of that. Not a very good chance, but there's a chance of that because 1, it's in his prospect profile. 2, he's on an explosive offense with Patrick Mahomes. 3, he's been doing it all offseason long, and that could continue. And he is just a guy on the waiver wire or in the final rounds of your draft just glowing right now, and you're looking at him. And say it doesn't hit, say he's not getting the snaps, and things aren't working out, you can turn and burn him and find something else off waivers. The thing about him, though, there's a chance, and it's a good chance. The odds are good that he works his way up throughout the season. It may not be week 1 he's balling out. It could be week 8. And if he's on waivers somewhere around then, I'm sure a lot of people are going to pass him around like a hot potato if that's happening. But he's a guy that needs to be on your radar. Huge. Huge. Just from that collegiate profile that we just talked about. Because those are high-end numbers. If he didn't get hurt, if he didn't have to come back from this injury, and he didn't have to come back from another injury, and just work his way up the depth chart, would have been a first-round pick, maybe even top 10. We're talking about that type of prospect. Can he revert to that? I don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. But we're seeing some indicators here that he's doing some things. He's making some plays happen. And he's a guy with a lot of upside here. He's a late rounder with upside. Anybody you draft in the late round should have a ton of upside. They should have nothing but upside. You should not be drafting roster cloggers at the back half of your draft. Look for guys with pure upside. That way, if they don't hit, you can turn and burn them and flip them. If they're a roster clogger, you'll be too scared, too worried about that little bit of production to be able to get that guy off waivers who's doing better than your roster clogger anyways. You want the Chiefs offense. You want the college production. You want that profile. You don't want him because you took another dart throw, and that's okay. He's a late rounder. Maybe you're in a 10-man league. Maybe he's in waivers on your league, and your roster's okay, and you're just watching him. You do want to watch him no matter what. You want to watch where he's at in your league no matter what, and what's he doing on the field. You want to watch the snaps. You want to watch the targets. You want to watch the routes ran. You want to watch the route participation rate. I'm sure we're going to cover that a lot on this channel for players like this because we do all the time. And I'm going to say, hey, you need them, you need them, and need them whenever I do that waiver wire series. When I break it down on the micro on each player on the waiver wire who's hot and trendy for the week, I do a separate video on each hot waiver wire player for the week so you guys can get a deep dive on that player to help you guys out. That's something you don't really get from any other channels. But the thing is, Justyn Ross, immense upside. Probably more upside than any other wide receiver here, being drafted around 16th round, 15th round. A lot of leagues don't even have a 16th round. Some of them stop like around 14, 15. Thing about that, he's on waivers. When it comes to the waiver wire, it's huge upside. You need to watch him. Maybe even just pick him up, but it's going to be hard to do because you got some running backs, you got some wide receivers, and they also got upside. You just got to watch the tea leaves, see what happens. But again, this guy has a lot of upside. If you want to just pick him up, no matter what, no one's going to fault you for it. No one's going to fault you for it. You're just going to have to be patient with him, though, because it could be week 8, 9, 10 before he goes off. Could be week 2. Who knows? But Justyn Ross has the talent. He has the upside. Can we tap back in and do what he did back when he was at Clemson? Let me know what you think in the comments below. I want to hear about it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Catch you on the next video.